Hey guys, here we're going to just go through the study guide for to prepare for the assessment next class. So we start out in 50B, and if you notice, we've got a system of equations. We've got our two equations right here. We're going to prove that when we graph them, we use substitution and we use elimination, that we get the same answer. So you're going to start off and you're going to graph. Remember, when you graph, you've got to put it into y-intercept form first, so negative x plus 2. So when you graph it, you start at your y-intercept and your slope is a -1. So the first line would look like this. And then the second line, when you solve for it, you're going to get -2y equals -3x plus 6. And then when you divide by 2, you get -2 rather. All right, you're going to get y is equal to 3/2 x plus, minus 3. Okay, so you start at -3, 1, 2, 3, and your slope is 3/2, so rise 3 over 2. There's our intersecting point right there. Okay, so the point's going to be at 1, 2, 2, 0. All right, so that's going to be our solution. So when you do substitution, okay, so when I do substitution, I'll do that in red here so we can see it a little bit better. Okay, I am going to look at this and see, well, y is equal to x plus 2, so I'm going to substitute in for my y negative x plus 2. Okay, so this would be 3x minus 2 times negative x plus 2 equals 6. So when I distribute 3x plus my 2x minus 4 is 6, I'll get 5x minus 4 is equal to 6, 5x is equal to 10, so my x is 2. I then take it and plug it back in, all right, to get my y. So my y is going to be equal to -2 plus 2, which is 0. So again, my ordered pair is 2, 0. Okay, so if I took both equations and I used elimination, okay, elimination, let's go back to the original equations. X plus y is equal to 2, and then we have 3x minus 2y is equal to 6. So if you notice, I can't eliminate, so I'm going to actually, let's multiply the top equation by -3. And when I do that, and I'll bring it down here, I've got -3x minus 3y is equal to -6. So I eliminate my x's and I get -5y is equal to 0, or my y is 0. Again, I plug it back in to get my x, so x plus 0 would be equal to 2, or x would be equal to 2. So all you're going to do in the homework for number 1, 2, 3, and 4 is do the same thing. Graph, substitute, and eliminate, and verify you get the same answer. It gives you practice in each. Okay, I'm not going to do every problem because the answer key is out on the class website. But I do want to point out for number 2, it's a little bit tricky because for substitution, if you notice, we don't have a coefficient of 1, which is fine as long as you can solve for x or y. It might be easier to solve for x or in either the first equation or the second. If I do x in the second equation, 2x is going to be equal to 4y plus 8, so I can divide by 2, and my x is actually equal to 2y plus 4. So then that makes it easy to substitute in your x, the expression 2y plus 4. So you might do that for number 2. Okay, so you go through, you do those for all the way up to number 4. If you look at number 5, all you're doing is telling whether the ordered pair is a solution. So you need to plug this ordered pair into this equation and to this equation. It needs to be true for both. Okay, if it's true for both, then it's a yes. Okay, if it's false for any of them, then it's a no. Okay. So same with this one right here. You're just plugging in your x and your y, and you're seeing if it's true for both, then the ordered pair is a solution. The other thing you can do here is actually just using Desmos, graph both of these lines and see if that ordered pair is the intersecting point. Okay, that will check it. That's a good check step. All right, so we will have some word problems on the assessment. When you get to the word problems, okay, some of you guys are having a hard time with them. Please remember that you're going to have two variables, and if you have two variables, then you should have two equations. So think of this as you're looking for your x and your y, okay, and we're using x and y because it's easier to put into Desmos to check it. You could use, in this example, wrapping paper W and candle C, but I'm going to use x to be wrapping paper. All right, so it's wrapping paper, and then your y is going to be candles, okay? So keeping in mind that there's two equations in here, a lot of times you have money ones, okay? So rolls of wrapping paper sell for $5 each, so that would be 5 times x. So if you bought 3 wrapping papers, you'd spend $15, okay? Candles are $4 each, and then you sold a total of 2,327. So there's your money one, okay? So a total of 526 items were sold. Okay, that's usually, if you look at the second equation, it's harder to find, but it's really easier. Okay, so 526 items simply means that x plus y is equal to 526. So once you have your two equations, your two variables, it's easy to use either substitution or elimination. It's your choice. And you can then check it using Desmos. Okay, so the one word problem I do want to point out is number 7, because number 7 actually is not a system of equations problem. All right, so I'm not sure we actually got this by us, but it's a little confusing because it's not a systems of equations. So if I look at it, actually we can set it up as one. All right, so let's let it. All right, let's go back. Let's keep it as a system of equations. I thought of it a different way. So you can think of it as systems of equations, or you don't have to. Okay. The perimeter of a rectangle is 124 centimeters. The length is 6 more than 3 times the width. Okay. So let's let L. Okay. Let L be equal to the length, and W be equal to the width. So all right, we've got our two variables. And we will then need two equations. The length is 6 more than 3 times the width. So if we did that, the length would be equal to 6 more than 3 times the width. So 3w plus 6. There's your length. Okay, and then your width, or your perimeter actually, is going to be 2l plus 2w. Okay, so if we know that perimeter is 2l plus 2w, we know that 2l plus 2w is going to be equal to 124. We know our length is going to be equal to 3w plus 6. Okay, so we can actually use substitution here. Okay, so this would be 2 times 3w plus 6 plus 2w is equal to 124. Okay, so this is going to be 6w plus 12 is plus 2w is 124. 8w plus 12 is 124. Okay, your 8w is going to be 112. Okay, and then your w is going to be 14. Okay, I like to think of this one as a picture. So the perimeter is equal to 124. If the length is 3 more than the width, think of the length as being 6 more than 3 times the width. So the width would be w. And remember, with perimeter, the width is both sides because you're adding them all up. So the length is 6 more than 3 times the width. Okay, so now looking at it, you can see 3w plus 6 plus 3w plus 6 plus w plus w. That would be the perimeter all the way around. And that's how we would get 3w and 3w is 6w, 7w, 8w, plus our 12, and that would be equal to 124. That's how we can solve for our width. Once we get the width, we plug it back in to get our length, and our length is going to be 3 times 14 plus 6, which would then end up being 48 centimeters. So length is 48 centimeters, and width is 14 centimeters. Okay, so go through the word problems, identify the two variables and the two equations, and then the review section. Okay, number 9, straightforward solving for x. So you're going to use DC-MAM, you're going to distribute, combine your like terms, you're going to move the variable, add or subtract, and multiply or divide by the constant. We should be really good at solving for x by now. All right, finding the zero. This is when a lot of you guys mix up on. To find the zero, you set your output to be 0, and then you solve for x. Okay? All right, so you're going to get negative 12. You're going to solve, and your answer is going to be x is equal to something. Okay, so that's what your answer is. Or you can think of your output as 0, so your x would be whatever the input is, and the output would be 0, the ordered pair. But let's just solve for x is equal to. Figure that out. All right. Number 11, finding f of 0 is different. F of 0 means you're letting x be equal to 0. So that means 5 times 0 plus 4. Okay, so f of 0, would be equal to 0 plus 4. So you give me the answer for that one. That should be pretty easy. All right. Number 12, you're writing a linear equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And it's perpendicular to the given line and passes through the following point. So here's the key word, perpendicular. Perpendicular, if we look at the original equation, our slope is 1/2. The perpendicular slope is the negative reciprocal, which would be -2. We then use that new slope with the point 2, 6. We put it in point slope form. Y minus y of 1 equals m times x minus x of 1. So this would be y minus 6 equals -2 times x minus 2. Then you would distribute, bring the constant to the other side, and give me the answer in slope-intercept form. Okay, you can take this equation right here and the new one that you get and graph them using Desmos to see that they actually are perpendicular. Okay, so 13, naming the property, that should be 1 times a equals a. You should be able to do that one. Okay, and that's it. So look at the key, make sure you understand all your answers.